Welcome to the On Purpose Entrepreneur Show. I'm your host, Carol Ann DeSimone. This show is designed to help you align with your soul's calling, empower your mindset, and ignite your creativity. I really do want to see you unleash your inner goddess and play full out and fully expressed. Now, let's get on with the show. Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the On Purpose Entrepreneur Show. I am your host, Carol Ann DeSimone, and I have a treat for you. The magnificent Raven Blair Glover is here with us today. Now, Raven is a true goddess, but she did not unleash her inner goddess powers until age 55, and it's been an uphill journey since then. So I can't wait till you get to hear her story. Before we get to Raven, though, before we bring her on, let me tell you a little bit about her. I'll read her official bio. So Raven Blair Glover, also known as Raven the Talkshow Maven, is the recipient of the 2016 Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award, signed by Barack Obama. She's the founder of Amazing Women and Men of Power Radio Network and the new cutting edge Raven International TV Network, which both of those are really all about positive programming, and I'll let Raven tell you a little bit about those when she joins us. Raven's a master interviewer who sets her sights high. She sets the bar really high for the rest of us, and she's such a great example. And that's how she's come to interview such celebrities, the likes of Montel Williams, Lou Gossett Jr., actress Lindsay Wagner. I'm trying to remember some more of them. Also, many business icons, Lisa Sasevich, Lisa Nichols, Brian Tracy, and the amazing Jack Canfield, who said of Raven, he was quoted live on air as saying, "Raven is one of the best interviewers on the planet," and I have to agree with that. Raven's purpose is to empower others, especially women, to elevate their self-esteem and find their strength using the power of their voice, showing them how to transform their mindset to using their voices to discover their own true passions and purpose. And beyond that, she also provides the platform for them to share their message. And I think that is really, really one of the most important things that she does, because that's why I'm here. If it weren't for Raven, we wouldn't have the On Purpose Entrepreneur Show. So I owe her so much. So that's enough of me. I will let Raven come on and share her story. So there she is. Yay.
Hey, Carol Ann. Hello, everyone, whether you're listening or watching. Smooches.
Is this your goddess? I mean, look at that beautiful hair and the hats. The hats. Her signature style. So Raven, right. Your story is so amazing, and I've heard it. So I know it, but our audience does not. And I think it's incredible that you really didn't come into your true power until age 55, and it has been all uphill since then. Not without the downhill slopes every once in a while, as many entrepreneurs experience. So the other thing I want to mention is that oftentimes our purpose is with us from a very, very young age, but we don't even realize it. And then it manifests years and years later. So can you kind of start back when you were, I think it was around age 13?
13 years old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And just take it from there?
Yeah, it's so interesting that you say that, because that's something I talk to my clients about too, Carol Ann. That many times we get the clue when we're young. Some people, from the time they get out the crib, as to where they're supposed to head towards in their life. A lot of times we ignore it, or in my case, it seems too difficult. We don't believe it. We want it, but we don't believe it. And that's exactly where I was at the age of 13. Oh my God, I just marveled and at radio DJs. I just thought it was fascinating that they could spin records and people could hear them all over the world, or at least at that time I was in Cleveland, Ohio. All over Cleveland, everybody could hear their songs and hear their jokes and hear their message. And so I wanted to be a DJ at that age. And we used to have this radio station called WJMO that was around the corner from my mom them's restaurant, because they own a chain of restaurants in Ohio. And I would sneak there and walk to the radio station. And they would always call my mom them at the restaurant and say, Mr. and Mrs. Blair, your daughter's down here again. Can you come get her? Then even at the age of 15, somewhere between 15 and 16, I think it was 16, to be honest, I was able to get a job spinning records for a jazz show at Methodist Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. So it was not Methodist, it was a Veterans Hospital in 2000. Let me scratch that back. It was the Veterans Hospital in Cleveland, Ohio. And I went there and they were looking for someone to have a jazz type show so that the patients could be relaxed and have something to listen to and be, empowered and stuff. And so I applied for that. And it was like an extension of what I was learning in high school and the communications and stuff. And I got that. I didn't get paid for it, but it was a chance for me to do what I love. And that was like at the age of 16. And yet my real radio show journey or talk show journey did not begin until, as you know, I was at the hospital by my mom's bedside in my midlife at the age of 55.
Raven, this is really even more, how should I say it, uncanny maybe, that your first real job spinning records was in a hospital.
Yeah. Oh my God, I didn't even think about that.
Yes. Yes. And then
I didn't even think about that. Wow.
About 40 years later, you're back in a hospital at age 55 at your mom's bedside. And you tell the audience that story, because that's where it really took off, and that's where it gets really, really.
That's exactly, yeah. My mother, she was there to get an operation on her heart. Went well, but she ended up having some complications, and what they thought was going to be 10 days in the hospital turned to be 3 weeks just in the ICU unit itself. And so right before Mother went into the hospital, I invested in a payment plan to take a course by Alex Mendozian called Teleseminar Secrets. And in that course, he taught you how to, do teleseminars and interview people. And so one day I was in the chapel and I was praying, wondering if Mom was going to make it. And I got the clear message, I believe, from God saying, your mother's she's going to make it. She's going to be different. And she's going to really need you. It's time for you to step up, show up, and grow up. Step up, it's time for you to step up and do something that's going to impact her life. But first, you got to impact your life. Okay? Why in the world are you making $55? You're at 55, making $10 an hour, working 20 hours a week when you've been to the best schools, you lived in the suburban areas, your mother brought you the best clothes. It just doesn't match up, And so that was the show up part. The grow up part. So you have to take responsibility of where you are now and why. And, you got to show up in a big way. So step up, show up, and grow up. Step up, do something impactful. Show up in a big way. Your mother's going to need you faster rather than slower. So we can't drag our feet on there. You know what I'm saying, Carol Ann?
Oh,
And then
yeah.
grow up, you got to take responsibility to why you're at this point, 55, making $10 an hour, working 20 hours a week, when everything in your path growing up, you were brought up to have more. You were meant for more, and you're doing less. You're settling. And so after that, I jumped on a call from the ICU unit on the phone of Alex Mendoza, and he was doing his Monday night mastermind calls. And he said, the quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts. And that was the shining light at the end of a very dark tunnel for me, because I instantly grabbed a piece of paper. I drew down the middle of the line. What do I need to do? Where do I need to begin? And I just brain dumped. What do I need to do? I need to make a list of people to interview. I need to figure out what a podcast is, what equipment I need, and where do I begin? I began with figuring out how I'm going to do this show. What's the show's name going to be, which was Women Power. And it was for baby boomer women like me that wanted more out of life and determined to get it. So I started crafting out what women would I like to interview. I put actress Jane Kennedy, which was a lot of people that are baby boomers. They know who she was. For us African Americans, she was this classy beauty queen that turned into a talk show, a sports caster, and my shero. And so, I put her name down as somebody I wanted to interview. I looked at the books and stuff that I read, Unstoppable by Cynthia Kersey. So I put her name down. Les Brown, he was somebody that I listened to at the hospital. So I put his name down, and I just put down my dream guests. And then I just asked for the interview, shared my story of how I was starting this show from a hospital. And it was to empower baby boomer women like me to go for their dreams no matter what. And they bought my story, and they said yes.
That is really amazing. So you got the spark. That spark was lit by listening to Alex, that one line that he said about interviewing other people.
The quickest way to become an expert is to interview other experts.
So that set you off into action. And
Yes.
what you did was immediately you started crafting out your vision, your plan, your dream, which was more
exactly like what the message in the chapel was: step up, show up, and grow up. That was my way of doing all that. Zig Ziglar says, if you help enough people do what they want, you'll get what you want by default. So by me going out there doing like Alex and interviewing those people that already had content, because I had none, I was just starting, that already had a voice, that already people were listening to, they didn't have a problem to be heard. I brought them to my audience of baby boomer women like me that wanted more out of life. We just did not know how to get it. And they could give us the strategies on how to do it, right? Where to go, where to start, how they got through their challenges, how they were able to turn their downs into ups. And that's, what I did. And from that, by me, what I call doing interviewing up, not just interviewing everyday people like us, but really stretching and asking for the interviews others dare not ask for, the big ones, that got me more exposure because people didn't know me. And then Alex was right. The quickest way I could become an expert for people to know me is to interview the others. So I said, wow, well, if that works with regular experts, that means I can supercharge things by asking Jane Kennedy, by asking Montel Williams, by asking Jack Canfield, by asking Les Brown, because I had no audience. These people did. So I borrowed and hooked my wagon and borrowed from their success. And that's one of the things I love teaching my clients, as to just ask for those bigger interviews so you can become known. We don't have time to play. One thing I learned from seeing Mother in the hospital, she did live 6 years later, and it's a mantra that I stand by, and that's don't wait to be great, do it now. Don't worry about dotting the I's and crossing the T's and having the perfect radio voice, which are some of the things that held me back and put that long gap from 13, or actually having a job at 16, at the radio network. And thank you for bringing that up. I've told this story 100 times, and that just shows what a marvelous interviewer you are, and never ever connected that that the hospital, me having that job at the hospital, and then my story starting at the hospital, how defined that was, profound that was, rather. And so, yeah, it's been a journey. It's been a journey. I mean, I always used to feel dismissed before having my talk show, Women Power. I always felt like everybody was acknowledged but me. Everybody was seen and heard, and their message could get out. But I was just to sit there at that time and, look cute and but don't say much, you're talking too much. Just sit there, look cute. But when you start speaking, you're the guys that I was involved in was like, no, just sit there and be cute, be arm candy. That's it, And it made me feel small. It made me feel unappreciated. It made me feel the best way I can tell people is like those of you that remember Casper. If you remember, it was just so frustrating. It was like nobody could see him. Nobody could hear him. And he had so much to say. Yeah, a lot of people feel that way. They just don't know how to express it. And I found my power behind the mic.
So let me ask you a question, going back to that moment when you started picking up the phone and you got into action. Mm-hmm. You got into inspired action. I have to clarify mm-hmm. that because it wasn't just any old action. It was inspired action. And you started asking people.
Yeah.
How, and you went from being somebody who you had the dream, feeling like Casper the Ghost without a voice, and yet here you are in an empowered place, picking up the phone and asking people. I mean, what was that feeling like?
It was scary, because I wasn't used to asking for what I wanted. I was very used to asking for what other people wanted because I came from a sales background. And, my career at that time was sales. So I knew how to sell. I knew how to ask for the sale. I had been trained that way. I knew that I needed to be more assertive. I knew not aggressive, but assertive and different things like that. And I had a great communication skills, listening skills, and all that. So that part was comfortable for me. But again, I was always in my jobs asking so that I could sell their product, right? Or help their business advance. It was helping me too as an employee, but it was more about them. So it was easy in some sense, but very hard because, as you know, and as many of our viewers and listeners know, asking for what we want and doing for us is hard.
Yes.
Especially us women, because us women, we have always done for other people. And that's why a lot of times when everybody's gone and our empty nester part of our life happens, we don't know where to begin. What dream? Am I supposed to dream? What vision? Am I supposed to have a vision? And, we're clueless, right? And so that's where I was. But I knew that if you don't ask, you're certainly not going to get. And nothing beats a failure but a try. So how do I ask? And we teach something called an ICON interview formula, where I stands for investigate, C stands for connect, O stands for own your message, own your audience, own your platform, and N stands for nitty gritty. Get to the nitty gritty. Don't stretch it out, because when you ask, you got that much time. You ain't got that much time. You can't tell everything. So I learned a long time ago in sales that your story is what sells you. Mm-hmm. They say talks, tell, stories, sell. Okay. So it's all about you sharing your story. So I knew at that time, I barely had 50 people listening to me, which many of them were friends and family, right? So I really had no big numbers. And I hope the people that are tuning in, whether it's watching the TV show or listening to Carol Ann's show on her podcast, I hope you get this, that it's not about the numbers. because that's the first thing my clients talk about. Well, I don't have an audience. Well, I never interviewed those people. And I send them interviews where they can hear my story, because we all start at the beginning. Most of us anyway start at the beginning. I had no radio career. Everything was created from the hospital by that one statement that Alex said. So that's an excuse that you're just telling yourself. Those are the type of things that I told myself, and that's what kept me from living the childhood dream that was always seated in me. So I tell people my dream found me at the hospital. So I guess going back to what you say, Caroline, they're like, oh, where can we find Raven? Oh, she's at the hospital again. All right. By my mother's side, why did it happen then? Because my why was never strong enough for me. That's something to think about, right?
Yes,
But
absolutely.
my why was strong enough for Mama.
Yeah.
Mama had tubes all around her. Mama was looking different. She walked in looking like Lena Horne, and in a matter of weeks, because remember, she was in the ICU for 3 weeks, in the hospital for 6 months. I seen her age by 10 or 15 years.
Yeah.
I seen her independence stripped away. I seen her worried, like, okay, what's going to happen to my daughters? They barely, they're in their 50s, but we were living paycheck to paycheck. We were going to Mom borrowing money to pay our light bill at that age. You see what I'm saying? So instead of her worrying about herself, I'm sure she did, a lot of her worry was, what's going to happen to my kids? God, I can't go now. You know what I'm saying? What's going to happen to them? And so when I was in that chapel and I heard the Step Up, Show Up, and Grow Up message, it was like, it's time. It's time. You're 55 years old. You should be giving your mom money for a light bill.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's time. She needs you. And you don't have time to play around. And so interviewing got me there faster rather than slower. And I was able to, make a complete transformation. And she was able to see that. She lived for 6 years. 6 years. She actually died on the same day, 6 years after that, in the same hospital.
Wow.
She went in February 6, 2006. She passed away February 6, 2012.
Wow. So to the point that your purpose really is not about you. It's about what you can do for others. And seeing your mom there, that turned into your why. And you were a woman on a mission because of your mom.
Yeah.
And that's how you ended up being where you are now. If it weren't for that moment, which it's unfortunate, but it happened for a reason.
It happened for a reason. Mother was able to see, to hear my interview with Les Brown, to hear my interview with Fran Drescher and Montel Williams. She wasn't alive when I got the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. I actually received the award in 2017, walked across the stage, didn't see President Obama, but one of his business ambassadors gave me the presidential pin. It was just, I have that video where they say, on behalf of, what was he, the 43rd president of the United States, thank you for your service. And and I took my mom and dad's picture, and I did like my grandmother used to do, put it here, tuck it away, because I wanted them to be close to me. That was the closest African-American president that we had gotten to, and of course there's debate there, but for us, that's what it was. And remember, I used to feel like Casper.
Yes. And that's what I want to know. How do you go from feeling like Casper to receiving a Lifetime Achievement Award from who I think is one of the greatest presidents ever?
Mm-hmm. I know. When I'm getting teary-eyed just thinking about it. It's a lot. I did not accept it. I could not, I didn't feel worthy of it. I was like, first of all, when I got the email saying, I was in Hawaii, my husband and I, when I got the email, and the email says, we've been trying to reach you. You've been nominated for the Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. And this was like December of 2016. I'm like, yeah, right. Me, right. And so I didn't do anything for 3 weeks. And it got close to January. They're like, look, he's in office a couple more months. We
Wow.
need to know, do you want to accept this nomination? And if so, we need things from you. This is a Presidential Lifetime Achievement Award. So I had to send back history and all this. I was at that point just nominated.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And they said, this is what we need from you. Guess what I did? You guys go ahead and laugh. I sent them a one sheet. They sent it back. They're like, oh, no, man. No, 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 no. Not. So I had to think about things I did, and all that stuff, and share a little bit of my story and stuff. But going back to your question on how does that, it was nominated by my clients, and I didn't know it, somebody that thought that I was worthy of this because of teaching people the same thing I teach you, and it had been it made such a difference in their life, and it had boosted their confidence, got them past their self-esteem. And they looked at this as a big service that I was providing to the world, And so I like to say to the viewers and listeners, when you think nobody is watching, somebody is watching. And you don't know how that one person, so that's why I tell people, don't worry about the numbers, worry about what you're going to do with the numbers you get. Because one person happened to be somewhere in the mix of this business ambassador, one of Barack Obama's business ambassadors, and said, how does one get this award? And when they explained it to him, they say, I know someone I'd like to nominate.
So do you remember what the citation was for?
For service.
Okay.
For service. It was a service award. In my case, broadcasting is the service that I provide.
Okay. So let's go back to
service to what you've done to make a difference in the world.
Yes, and you have made a wonderful difference. And we're going to get to today, what you're doing now. But I just want to take the audience back a little bit to how you did get to this because I know you were with CNN for a while too.
Yeah, I was at CNN, which later turned to be CBS, for a very short, I went 2009, toward about fall of 2009, till about the fall of 2000, to about closer to the winter of 2010. So it was only a year, about a year. But it's really weird because that's what got me to launch Amazing Women of Power, our radio podcast network. Because CNN, I used to sell my sponsorship packages, and part of that was people could come to CNN and we take pictures under the CNN sign, and on there they would get the audio, and on it would say, you're listening to CNN. So that was something very valuable that people were willing to pay for, right? And so all of a sudden, CNN, when they changed over to CBS, they said, hey, you can no longer use our CNN CBS logo. You can't give out the audios to the clients. They belong in their house. And I had already sold sponsorship packages. I gotten so good. I sold them like way into the end of the year. And this was the fall. So I'm looking at all these clients that I've sold, and the money was spent. Just keeping it real. So I'm like, okay, so what, am I going to have to give these people back their money? Because that was in my package. You get the CNN sign. You're going to have the CNN on your audio and stuff. And so I was talking to, at that time, my boyfriend, Khalid, married to him now, husband number 4, lady skip number 3, 4. That's the girl. That's the one. But yeah, and he said, well, you got to do something, because I literally sat on the couch. I was stuck in fear, thinking
Mm,
about, I'm gonna have to get back. At this point, it looked like $3,000+,
mm,
right? And you guys that are listening, that how you get the money in, it's spent, right?
mm-hmm.
So, and what am I going to tell these people? Because I'm a very ethical person in business and in life, and so I'm not going to lie to anybody. How am I going to make this right, where it still can be a win-win for them? And all of a sudden, I got a message saying, start your own network.
Mm,
And it's going to be a positive programming network.
I
And so
love.
I had Women Power, which was my first show, and I had several other shows other than that. And I was going to do a network with just my shows. And then it said, no, open it up. Because I'd already had a course called Kitchen Table Radio, and I had students in it. And let those students be your first people, all the people that you have sold to. Instead of doing an interview with them, do the interview with them on CNN and CBS, until your time runs out, but you just can't give them the audio and stuff, but tell them you'll give them instead their own show on your platform.
Wow.
So they didn't have to pay anything but the $100 a month for the hosting and airing and training that we do every month. But I trained them all to have their show in exchange for the money they gave me, and still did their interview. And I still actually have 2 people, that was in 2010, that are still with me.
Wow.
I mean,
Yeah.
2011 is when we launched it. So my boyfriend, Khalik, who's a Grammy Award-winning mixing engineer, worked with Michael Jackson, Prince, and people like that. He came up to Cleveland because he was in California, turned my second bedroom into a radio station with mics and all that stuff. And we cut the ribbon there, did this big thing, and videotaped it and stuff. This is, I think it was September of 2011, we launched Amazing Women of Power. So we've had it since then. And as you said earlier, we just launched a TV network in March.
So I just want to back up a little bit, because this is a perfect example of the breakdown before the breakthrough.
Mm-hmm.
And you were in fear, like so many of us, when things happen and we think, oh, why me? Why me? Well, why not me? Things happen for us, not to us. And here you are now. I just want to bring up this point, though, because I always say that, if you want to know your purpose, trace back your path. And great things come when we're ready.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Whether it's God, whether it's the universe, spirit.
Right.
So what I find remarkable, because I know a lot of artists, and I would say that you are a true artist, but you have this sales background. You spent years in sales. Had you not had that experience, would you be able to teach other people to use their voice in such a powerful way to go out and get sponsorship and to really monetize their message?
Yes, absolutely. And I'm glad you brought that up, because, there's this saying that it's not our plan, it's God's plan, and this is a true example of that. See, I thought I was ready when I was younger to get into radio, because I thought I was going to spin the records, right? The only thing that kept me from it is I didn't feel like I had a radio voice, and I was terrible at testing, and you had to take the FCC test. But see, when I heard Alex talk about not only interviewing these people, but there's this thing called podcast, and guess what? You don't need an FCC license. Man, I threw myself into that. And I ran around the hospital and said, I'm going to start my own show. I'm going to start a Woman Power show. So the excitement was there. But the sales background helped me monetize it and turn it into a cash machine. Because although I interviewed all these great people, the one thing that the part and the piece of the puzzle that was missing is, okay, you've done a good job. You have a platform. You built it fast. But your mother is going to need help with her medical bills. Maybe you'll have to pay a light and phone bill. You're going to have to get your car fixed so that you can get her back and forth to these hospitals. This is going to take money. So you're missing one of the biggest things. How can you help her? The interviews are helping you and helping the people. But right, she needs money. You don't have money. You're making $10 an hour, working 20 hours a week. That's your money. And so the sales background helped me do that. And I remember I did a course called, well, first thing I did is I did a course a while back called Kitchen Table Radio in 2008. And so I knew I had that. So once I got to CNN, what I did is I made packages, like I said, sponsorship packages, sold that. But also my Kitchen Table Radio course, instead of people buying the course and learning on their own, I started holding webinars and walking them through the course, because now I had a platform that I walk them through those 5 weeks, and then they would have their own show on my platform. And they would charge a fee, and they would pay a monthly fee, so I would have residual income. That sales, had I not had that sales background, I could not write a script. I'm not the best script writer, but I know how to write it and tweak it and make it work. I'm very comfortable with picking up the yellow pages and calling, asking for money. So in sales, I really learned how to ask. And if you don't ask, you don't get, right? And, what's the old saying, timid salespeople have skinny kids, things like that, and skinnier grandkids. So we don't want no skinny grandkids running around, right? So I learned that you got to be bold and you got to ask for it. But before you can ask, you've got to be a great listener so that you can hear what they need. Because people don't buy from you because you want them to buy your package. They buy for you because what you're offering is a solution to their pain. And for my clients, I was attracting people like me. I was attracting people that also felt like Casper, that also felt unheard, that also felt people didn't see them, that they had built these fabulous businesses, but their friends and their business associates and their mentors was being awarded, and they weren't. And so I decided to start the Emily Awards, named after my mom, that we do at a red carpet live event. And I said, I'm going to be have the first live event that I know of where every host on my network, as long as they produced their shows and followed my system, that they would be able to walk the red carpet and get their awarded certificate so that they can put on their bio, award-winning host.
Love that.
To be recognized.
Yeah.
And I did that before I even started getting awards. And as soon as I did that and opened it up for other people, one of the things that my host did in 2015, actually it was in 2015, the year before, Barack's award, they all got together behind my back and called my husband and my son, and they all nominated me for the Giant Community Award. And I went to Atlanta. I didn't know what was going on. I didn't even know how I got the award, and got to walk the red carpet, stand on stage, and they read this long list of people of all my hosts that had got together to nominate it. And I hope people are getting this. When you step up, it's so much like Zig Ziglar says. When you help others, you will get what they want. You get what you want. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You see how these awards and this recognition came after I did the work?
Yeah.
It's amazing.
And you're making money with your purpose, with your gifts.
I'm definitely not making $10 an hour no more.
Yes. Yes.
I'm actually working less than 20 hours, and I'm not a millionaire. I'm in six figures and growing. But the best part is I'm living my life in a way where I feel free to be me, and I can help others do it along the way. And it's all through the power of your voice, and and having these talk shows, becoming the Oprah and the Larry King or the Jimmy Fallon in your niche. This is what I help people do. And they decide, and we get them on radio, we get them on TV. As you know, we're a complete one-stop media company where we can help them with books, press releases, get them in magazines, as you know, all this. And do you see the similarity of what I'm doing? It's all about recognition, isn't it?
Yes. And positioning.
Mm-hmm.
Positioning.
Yeah.
Yes.
And being recognized, taking control of how you want to be seen, how you want to be heard, how you want your message to stand out. So what I found in all this is that really, I felt like the way I did, misunderstood, not recognized, not acknowledged, not heard, not seen. And then I began wearing my hats and carrying my microphone.
Yes,
I
that
took
famous microphone.
I got into my power, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'm going to be seen, I'm going to be heard, and I'm going to be recognized. And someone said, oh, you're Raven, the radio Maven. And I'm like, I see myself one day of being on TV and turn it to Raven, a talk show Maven. So that was my stepping up and showing up, right?
Yeah,
right.
Absolutely. Yeah.
And taking responsibility that the only reason I wasn't seen and heard and recognized and acknowledged is because I didn't step into that power. Yes. Nobody said, no, you can't.
Yes.
I didn't own that.
Right.
I didn't step into that power. The minute I did, yes, things started happening. So sometimes you got to kick the damn door down. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It may be cracked, and some of us will look at it and say, that looks interesting, but I don't have this. But I don't. What if people say, but when am I going to do this? They have all these buts in the way. And then other people, like I am now, but haven't always been, will not just look in a cracked door. I'm going to push that damn door open. I'm walking through it and standing in my power. And I'm riding with the waves. Sometimes the waves are up. Sometimes they're down. Sometimes they go around. And I'm just following on it, almost like I'm surface. What is it when people surfacers, the ones that's on the water with the skis? I'm surfacing around things and making it happen. And is it, sometimes you cry, sometimes you want to pull your hair out, sometimes you scream, sometimes it's frustrating. You can have all kind of life obstacles. As you know, Carol Ann, what I went through, it's 7 people associated with me, whether it's social media, family, couple family members, 3 radio hosts passed away last year. And it was the darkest time of my life. In the middle of us getting ready for, actually at the beginning of launching the Conversations Behind the Mic book, and me doing 40 interviews after the day I heard my brother die, which was July 1st last year. I'm telling you, doing those 40 interviews was the hardest thing I did. I couldn't even make it to my brother's funeral. It was a terrible time. And remember, I pulled away from the host. I said, look, after that, once we got to bestseller, it's my first book that got the bestseller. First book that all talk show hosts are on the cover, and in the inside of the book, their best guest interview was in, including mine. And I had to step away afterwards because I pushed myself through there. If anybody looks at those videos, you actually see me rocking and my eyes closed during 90% of those interviews.
Wow.
That's the state of mind. Or either my eyes were blinking like this, like crazy. So I was definitely dealing with something, and keeping my eyes closed and rocking was my way pushing through it. But all I could think about is my brother's gone. I'm doing this freaking interview, and I really can't care less about it at that time, which was unfair for my guests because I had some amazing guests like Alex Mendoza, the one that first got me on this in a path. So it was very hard. And I pulled away for a couple months, did very little work. All my clients, because I give so much when I'm giving, they were okay. They were saying, yeah, take some time off. I'm good until after the first of the year. And then all of a sudden we got an email about an opportunity to do unlimited TV channels on Roku, Amazon Fire, and Apple TV. And that took me on the second half of my talk show journey that I didn't even see coming.
Yeah.
But I had enough insight years ago that when somebody said, "Oh, I'm going to call you Raven, the radio Maven," on the plane home, I said, I see talk show one day in my life. And I said, Raven, a talk show Maven. And I walked into that position, that brand. I wore my hats. I grabbed my mic. And even though it feels silly when I'm at these events, I'm standing and walking in that power. And so if you want to be recognized, if you want to be seen, if you want to be heard, step into your power. You're ready. It's time for you to come out of the shadows and into the spotlight. Your time to shine, baby. Only thing that's holding you back is you.
Yeah. Even if it's just that one baby step.
One baby step. My baby step was when I grabbed that piece of paper at the hospital and I brain dumped. What do I need to do? And where do I need to begin?
So, amazing story, but let's talk about today. Let's talk about Raven International TV Network and your positive programming, and tell the audience a little bit about that, because it's cutting edge. And when I just want to back up to what you said about opportunities, you got this email, and so many times we're waiting for the money to come, we're waiting for something huge to happen. And really, it all starts with one opportunity that you have to recognize as an opportunity. It could be as simple as an email.
Yeah, I'm going to move my chair up a little bit. I feel like I'm sliding back. Okay.
So that email led to all this. So tell the audience, what is Raven International TV Network? Where can they find you? How can they get involved? Just, lay it all out there.
Absolutely. Well, Amazing Women and Men of Power and Raven International TV Network, first of all, it's all under the umbrella of Raven International Media Empire. Okay. And so we have a broadcasting side, and then we have a media/print side, that we offer our clients, so they no longer will feel like Casper, and so that they will step out of the shadows and into the spotlight. And so we're able to first give them a voice and help them be seen. And we do that by not only giving them a TV show, but within 30 days after their TV launch, we also launch their podcast. And as you know, Carol Ann, one of the best parts about what we offer, it's a done-for-you service, right?
Yes.
So we take the technology and all the worries out of it. We show you an easy breezy way of recording it, and how to get your content to us. And you might have to do just the bare editing, but we have a staff that can do that too. And then you can go on about your coaching life or whatever it is you do. We want you to continue doing you and let us handle it. And I think that's what our clients like. Well, you're one of our clients. How do you feel about it being a done-for-you service? Do you feel like that took a lot of your worries and gave you confidence that you could do this?
Oh my gosh, yes. And I don't have any real fears around interviewing people, but it's the technology. I have an amazing opening for my show and closing. I certainly couldn't have done that myself. It was done by your team. Amazing, amazing, amazing. And just the knowledge and everything that you have, the education that you've
we love training.
offered.
Yeah, that's a big piece. We do educate you on advertiser sponsor, but first we're going to walk you through getting it done. I remember you and the other hosts when we came back after the holiday, because you guys didn't know any of this. And I said, okay, guys, not only are we going to set because we went from radio to podcast, and we got you set up on the podcast network now, but you're going to do a TV show. And I remember you were like, okay.
You said this month.
And then I said this month.
You said this month.
Yeah, we got it done. We launched, I think I told you guys like that it was coming. And in February, I mentioned we're going to do it. We had a couple calls so that you guys would know what to do. And we launched it March 23rd.
Yeah, amazing. I
Matter
mean,
of weeks.
uh, this woman gets things done.
My don't wait to be great, do it now motto,
Yes.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So we did it. And we did it when we launched like almost 20 of us or something like that. With our TV show, we had great promotion and exposure out there. Do you remember how much of a rock star you felt?
Oh my gosh.
I know I felt like a rock star. I was excited because I hadn't been on TV before, not with my own show.
I felt like such a celebrity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was an instant transformation. And so that's what we give you. We're going to give you instant transformation that's going to take you out of your head, because we like to keep our clients into their heart and out of their head. And I think, like I was telling Carol Ann and the rest of the hosts, we teach you to speak from your gut, your heart, and soul. I don't want you worrying about dotting the I's and crossing the T's. What you have inside is good enough. I'm going to say that one more time for the viewers and listeners. What you have inside of you is good enough. Just go back to my story, right, Carol Ann? I had everything I needed, including the sales portion, which makes me a great interviewer. When Jack Canfield said on air that he felt I was one of the best interviewers on the planet, and the way he actually said that, because see, I had interviewed Jack by the time he said that, I had interviewed him 3 or 4 times. He was one of the first business icons I interviewed back in 2008 or 9. So he had seen me transform. And the way he said it on air was, because I was interviewing him, and he said, well, let's flip the script a little bit. Let me interview you. And he started asking me a couple questions. And then as I was sharing the answer, he said this, and I literally almost fell out my chair. I couldn't believe it. He said, well, you wasn't always, but now you're one of the best interviewers on the planet. He has seen me grow. And how I became that was my sales skills.
Yes.
Because remember, I talked about being a good listener, and asking the right questions, and asking the questions, and really knowing how to, shuffle your interview. When should you step up in the interview? When should you pull out? At our live event, Red Carpet Interview Secrets, we teach something called the interview shuffle. And all the audience is on the floor doing the interview shuffle. and we talk about how you have to go up and how you have to lean back. And sometimes you have to go to the side and dip. We have strategies to go along with that will make your interview just really pop and stand out. And you'll get amazing testimonials from it.
Wow. I can't wait to see that in action.
You'll be doing it.
Yes, I will. I can't wait. But let me ask you this, Raven. What's next? You've done so much. So what is your next big dream to fulfill?
Well, we have this opportunity of unlimited channels. Our goal is to do 6 channels a year. We just launched just a couple days ago our advisory board for Raven TV, which I'm so excited Carol Ann is one of our members on. And, so that it wouldn't be just Raven's voice and message and vision heard, but that of a team that would go out and gather information from viewers and listeners that would steer us in the right direction. I've always been about positive programming. I've always wanted to empower, uplift, encourage, and inspire people. So we don't do any men bashing, women bashing, political. That's not our network. You'll never find that on our network. We want listeners to be able to come on our channel, put it on all day, just like they've been able to do for years with Amazing Women of Power. They can do the same thing with Raven TV. They can watch one positive message, one positive, inspiring, amazing interview at a time on our network. And so what's next is to continue launching niche type positive programming channels. Like I think we spoke about the speaker network, where we have different type of speakers from small TED Talk like talks to keynote speakers, giving them a platform. Those awesome speakers that you just happen to be at an event and say, why haven't I heard of her? That's because nobody's given them a chance on a bigger platform. We're able to do that. For what do we call it? For the love of pets, all kind of pets, so all kind of positive programming thing, a sales network thing, so it'll be edutainment, positive programming, different channels. That's what next. And we're going to unleash 6 to 7 a year. And just get out there and help other people shine and educate and entertain people along the way. That's what's next. And help people get to be bestsellers. We help publish books now and help launch bestseller campaigns for people, news releases. So, I'm doing what's next. It'll be more of what I'm doing now. And, of course, I'm trying to build it in a more automated way, so it doesn't take so much of Raven, because I'm proud to say I'm 68 now. And my goal is when I'm 70 to have everything completely automated and I can be more speaking. So I guess if there's something I'm not doing now, as far as what's next for Raven, is to get back on the speaking circuit. And I want to come from behind the mic and behind the camera lens and really get out to people so they can see who I am beyond the hat and the mic and all this and the hair and all that. That's the still the Casper side of Raven trying to peek their head out. It'll always be there.
Yes, that inner goddess is still in there.
It's still there. So this is me.
Unleashed.
This is me.
Yeah.
And sometimes it feels silly. But at the same time, I have more people come to me and like, wow, I admire your boldness. I love your presence. I love the way you stand out. And it doesn't mean everybody has to stand out in their way, but find a way that feels comfortable with you so you can step into the spotlight and be who you are. Brand yourself in that way, brand your business in that way, and stop hiding behind a lot of stuff and come on out. Your message needs to be heard. It deserves to be heard. I remember at the hospital, and I know anybody that knows Les Brown, you've heard him share this story about his best friend named Boo. And he used to talk about how Boo cooks so well, make you want to slap your mama. You guys remember hearing Les Brown say that? Well, I remember from the hospital, I heard him share that story again. And he shared how his friend had died. And that a lady came to him at the gravesite and said, oh, I'm so sorry that your friend Boo died. You always talked about that book, that cookbook. Did he ever do it? And Les Brown said, no. And she said, oh, he took it with him. And so Les Brown talks about the richest place on earth is the graveyard. We take so many of our dreams, our visions, our goals, our wants, things that we deserve to have, things that we deserve to unleash to the world, we took to the gravesite with us. And that's when I decided, no, don't wait to be great. Do it now. So the question to all of our viewers and listeners, to you is, why are you waiting to be great? You don't have to. With the technology that we have nowadays, you don't have to. And if you feel like I found out that your why is just not strong enough, borrow someone else's why. Look beyond yourself. And maybe you'll find, like I did, that Zig Ziglar, when he says, if you help enough people get what they want, that means take the focus off of you for a moment. Put it on someone else. Maybe it's a family member like my mom. Maybe it's a next door neighbor that can't get to the store, or that you see struggling trying to get their groceries in with their wheelchair. Borrow someone else's why. And by you helping them, you'll be so surprised what will help you and what you'll accomplish without even expecting it. Don't expect it, because then you kill the plan. Don't expect it. Just do it from the heart.
Well, I'm getting chills, Raven. That was just so profound. So You've offered so much. Thank you, thank you, thank you for.
Well, thank you. You've done a great job. I love your show. I love your story. I got a chance to hear your story. What an amazing story you have. And I just want to encourage the listeners and your viewers to stick with this lady. She's going someplace.
Oh, thank you. So, speaking of listeners and viewers, how can they find out more about you and stay connected?
Yeah. Well, first of all, there's a website. You guys can go there and get a free report and learn more about streaming TV, Roku, Amazon Fire, and how it can build you and your brand 10 times it, as a matter of fact, because definitely there's power in TV. And now you can get on there without selling a home or going to get a loan. It's affordable. So we want to send you to Raven International. Let's say Raven International TV Network.com. Long, I know. Raven International TV Network.com, and download that free report. And in it, it will give you an invite to my calendar for a free complimentary Power of TV from the shadows to the spotlight discovery session with me. And let's look at where you are now with getting beyond the Casper in you. Where are you now? Are you hiding? What kind of things do you have going on that we can help pop and take you from the shadows to the spotlight sooner rather than later, faster rather than slower? And I invite you to click on that link, put some time, find a time convenient for us to talk on your calendar, and let's just have a conversation without any promises either way, because I'm very picky, as Carol Ann would say, on the people that come to our family, because we are like a family. And it's not about numbers with me. It's not about quantity with me. It's about us giving you the quality service and helping you broadcast your message out, whether it be radio, TV, books, press release, whatever. And our goal is to help you reach yours and get you seen and heard. So I'm very picky. The message must be positive, but the link to the invite to my calendar is in that report. So again, Raven International TV Network. My email will be there. So that's the best way and the best place I think I can send them, other than keep watching Raven International TV Network.
Yes, absolutely. Well, Raven, it has been such an honor. And viewers, listeners, please take Raven up on her offer. You will not be sorry. You will get so much value out of even a 30-minute, 15-minute call or whatever you decide to do. Or if you decide to go beyond that, that's a life changer. Let me just vouch for that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And when you put in the notes of the booking a time on my calendar, do me a favor and put heard you on Carol Ann's show. Yeah.
Okay. So anything else, Raven?
That's it, guys. I just say, hey, it's time to step up, show up, and grow up, and ask yourself, why wait to be great? I'm telling you, don't wait to be great. No more dotting the I's, crossing the T's, trying to be perfect. Step into your power. Do it now. And there is power in TV, and your message deserves, not needs, deserves to be heard.
Yes.
We don't want people saying, she or he took it with them.
Yeah. And it's never too late.
Never too late.
No.
Well, it can be.
Well,
it can
you're
be.
Watching, it's not too late for you. Right?
There you go. Bye, everyone. Thanks, Carol.
Okay. Bye-bye. Till next time.
You got enough to get what you need?